Hey guys, so today's video is going to be an unusual money making method video where I'm going to introduce two new methods to you guys and also revisit two methods that made me the most money in 2017. Don't forget that if you guys have an unusual money making method that you want to see put into one of these videos, please leave me a YouTube message, a YouTube comment, a Twitter message, an Instagram message, whatever. If you guys want to see it put into a video, if I like it enough, I'll make sure to include it in the next video. Also, a quick shout out to a sort of revamped public Discord. If you guys want to join my CC Discord, which is just this Discord of my CC soup, please click the first link in the description to join it. I will leave it at the very top. Make sure to drop a like and a comment if you guys enjoy, and let's get right into the video. So the first method we're going to be revisiting is picking up black scimitars on the second floor of Artie Castle, or the first floor for all you Brits out there. For those of you guys who didn't know, there is in fact a black scimitar spawn on the southern side of Artie Castle, and all you need to get into the room is 61 thieving. Now the wiki says that you need a lockpick as well, however no lockpick is needed. I was doing this without one. I think that the lockpick is just there to increase your chance of getting into the room itself, but I was doing this. I have 91 thieving. I was only failing a couple times trying to get into the room, and you don't take any damage as well, so there's really no point in bringing a lockpick unless, you know, just want one less inventory space. But once you get into the room, the black scimitar spawn is right there for you to pick up. And it's really simple from here. All you do is just hop worlds and keep picking up these black scimitars. Oh man, whatever you want to call it. The method itself, as you can see, is very simple. All you do is just hop worlds and pick up the black scimitars. Sometimes there are other people doing this as well, so you may encounter other people, but generally you just need to find yourself 10 to 15 worlds and just keep hopping between those worlds over and over, because the black scimitars will respawn at that point anyway. Now there is one downside to this method, and that's that since you are hopping so frequently and all you're doing between hopping is just picking up a scimitar and hopping right away, so you're pretty much in the world for like a second and a half, picking up the scimitar and then hopping again, you guys are probably going to encounter the hopping error where every 15 to 20 worlds or so, it's going to tell you that you've been hopping way too much and that you can't log in. And it's going to tell you to wait a little bit. And when you finally log in again, you can only hop a couple worlds before it gives you this error again. So there's a couple things that you can do here. If you want to maximize your profit, you can do this on two separate accounts. So if you have two accounts with 61 thieving, then you can do this on both of those accounts. And every time you get the login error on one account, you simply hop in on your other account and continue with that account until you get the error on that account, and then switch back to the other. Now this will make you the most money because you're consistently picking up these black scimitars on both accounts. You're going to make more money since you simply pick up more scimitars per hour. So if you have two accounts with 61 thieving, you can do this and make a lot more money. But if you're only stuck on one account and you can only really play on one account, then what you can simply do after getting this login error is try to log in again, and when you do finally log in, teleport to Artie, run to the bank all of your scimitars, and then run back to the castle. And this like minute and a half, 2 minutes of you banking will give you a bit of time where the login error hopefully will be finished and you can continue hopping worlds. It's one of my least favorite things about this game is this hopping error, where if you hop too much, you get kicked out for a certain period of time. I personally hate it, but I can understand why it's in the game, so you don't really abuse certain things. Now, unfortunately, the scimitars these days are going for a lot less than they were in the summer. In the summer, they were going for about 2,300 GP each, and at the moment, they're going for about 1,200 GP each, so almost 50% less than what they were in the summer. I managed to collect 233 of these black scimitars and sold them for 294,000 GP, so pretty much half of what I made in the summer, which makes total sense with the 50% decrease in price. I'm still not sure as to why these even go for this much in the first place. I don't know if there's a person collecting these or if they're used in a certain quest, or if they're, I'm really unsure. Make sure to let me know in the comments if you guys do know why. But that's the first method. The black scimitar is going down in price, but still making you almost 300,000 GP an hour. It's still a great way to rebuild your account if you guys have absolutely nothing on it, since all you need is 61 thieving, which is free to get anyway. Pick up some black scimitars and you guys have some nice starter cash. Up next, we have a method that made me almost a million GP the last time I tried this on the Unusual Money Making Method series, and that's buying lockpicks from Martin Thwaite's Lost and Found, who's in the Rogue's Den in Berthor. Back in the spring of this year, the lockpicks were going for 800 to 900 GP each, which was quite a large amount of money if you look at how much you can buy them from the shop, which is only 20 GP. So the profit you're making per lockpick was absolutely insane. Nowadays, the lockpick price is a bit lower, only at 200 GP. So as you can probably guess, the profits per hour are going to go down quite a bit for this method. Now, the thing I noticed that I didn't notice last time was that there's a lot of people actually doing this method now. Back then, I had very little competition to actually buy these lockpicks from this shop. However, this time I found at least 3-4 other people hopping between worlds and buying these lockpicks. In order to access Martin Thwaite's shop, you need 50 thieving and 50 agility, or straight up 99 thieving. And in this shop, he sells a bunch of thieving related items, but the one we focus on are the lockpicks. He has 25 of these lockpicks in stock and sells them at 20 GP each, and depending on the GE price, you can sell them anywhere from 150 to 250 GP each. So you're still making a good amount of money off each lockpick, but the issue is that there's a lot of competition for buying these things. So sometimes you're going to hop into a world that has a full stock of lockpicks, all 25, and then sometimes you're going to hop into a world that only has 3 or 4 in stock. So obviously, if you want to do this method when there's the least amount of people doing this as well, then you probably want to do it in the middle of the night sometimes where there's the least amount of people online. If you do this prime time, there's going to be a lot more competition for these lockpicks. I did end up doing this in the middle of the day, but I did find that it really varies like every 10 minutes as to how many you get. In the first 10 minutes of doing this, I only managed to get 200 lockpicks, so I figured that at the end of the hour I would have about 1,200 lockpicks. But then in the next 10 minutes I actually ended up getting 400 lockpicks, so double the original from the first 10 minutes, which really confused me. But again, it really varies when you do this. Sometimes you get lucky with the world, sometimes you don't, so it's really random. So I managed to collect 1,956 lockpicks at the end of the hour and sold the first couple hundred for about 171 GP each, but decided to sell them for a little bit lower since I wanted to see how much I could make right away off doing this method. So I waited about 15 minutes and sold the rest of them off at 163 GP each, which means that at the end of the hour I managed to make 320k off buying lockpicks from Martin Thwaite's store. Now if we take away about 30,000 GP, which is how much it costs to buy the lockpicks from Martin Thwaite itself, we're closer to 290,000 GP in that 1 hour. Now the profit from this has gone down immensely since obviously the last time I did this I made close to 1 million GP per hour since the lockpicks we're going for so much more, but these days they're less than 200 GP each, unfortunately, which means that we can only make about 300k off this method. Again, still not the worst GP per hour, but definitely not something I would recommend. So unfortunately, 2 of the most successful unusual money makers from this year have gone down quite a bit in price and are not what they used to be. Rest in peace. But where there is death, there is also life, because I have a couple new unusual money makers for you that may make you some decent profit per hour. Now, the first one I have for you guys is turning silver bars into silver dust. Now, I'm sure some of you guys had no idea that silver dust wasn't even an item in the game, and I can totally understand that since it's only used for one thing. There are no other uses for this item besides being used for the Guthix Balance Potion, which can be used on several types of vampire. Silver bars are very easy to make, and the ore themselves are very fast to mine, which is why they're so cheap on the Grand Exchange, going for about 114 GP each. Now, the silver dust go for almost 6 times that amount at 755 GP each, which is a huge profit margin. Now, to turn these silver bars into silver dust, we're going to be using the grinder above the Ectofunctus near Port Fat Asmus. All you need to do is go up there with an inventory of bars and then use one of the bars on the grinder, and it auto-completes the rest of the process for you. It's incredibly easy. Think of it as sort of turning steel bars into cannonballs. It's an incredibly slow process, but you do make profit over time. The thing is, steel bars and cannonballs are incredibly in demand, so those are always on the market, but the silver bars and silver dust probably aren't as popular, so there's a lot less people doing this, if any. I'm pretty sure the only reason that the silver dust goes for so much is because nobody really does this method, and the silver dust, I guess, is in demand for the people trying to make the Guthix rest potions. On the Grand Exchange website on the old school page, it shows that there's anywhere from 50 to 500 of these traded per day, and sometimes, very rarely though, there's upwards of 3 to 4,000 of these traded. When there's that little of an item traded per day, it's very scary with prices because you never know if you're going to make big profit or lose money on something. In my case, however, the profits were fantastic for me because I was making 600 GP per silver bar I turned into silver dust, so incredibly great. But the method itself is incredibly boring because all you're doing is having the grinder turn the silver bars into silver dust for you, which takes anywhere from like 2 to 3 minutes, so you're just sort of standing there AFKing. So I guess it's something nice to do in the background while you do something else. I wanted to see how much I could make with a low cash stack, so I started off with 20,000 GP and bought 150 of these silver bars. The entire process of turning all these bars into dust took about 15 minutes, so not too bad. Once I turned all the silver bars into silver dust, I went to the Grand Exchange and they all insta-sold for the 755 GP each, which means that I had a cash stack of 116k at the end, so almost 100k profit in those 15 minutes just off turning silver bars into silver dust. Who would have thought? A nice little unusual method there to make you some decent money, though I wouldn't recommend doing this right away because I'm sure some people will try it out and the price of silver dust will go down just a little bit. And finally, I have a method for you that's only sort of come about recently, and that's turning Supercompost into ultracompost. This is really nice because you can just stand at the bank and do this sort of AFK in the background while you make some decent money. You need 2 volcanic ash to turn a supercompost into an ultracompost, and with supercompost going for about 470 GP each, volcanic ash at about 320, and then the ultracompost going for about 1300 GP, you can see that with all those ingredients, you can make decent profit turning the volcanic ash and the Supercompost into the ultracompost. Now the thing I really like about this method nowadays is that with the make all option, you can now really do this more AFK than ever. Just simply have the volcanic ash stacked in your inventory, have the Supercompost in your bank, and every time you're finished with an inventory of turning the Supercompost into ultracompost, deposit them and withdraw more Supercompost and continue the process. The make all option, as I said, makes this more AFK than pretty much ever before. Now one inventory of this takes about 30 seconds, so if you're doing it perfectly, you can technically get 120 inventories done in 1 hour of doing this. But we're all human, we all make mistakes, except for, mooks. So I'm going to say about 110 inventories in 1 hour of doing this, which means that since we're making 4K profit per inventory of turning the Supercompost into ultracompost, we're going to be making about 440K an hour just bank standing, turning all of the Supercompost into the ultracompost. And since the supplies themselves are very cheap, you really don't have to worry about having that big of a cash stack to make good money off of this. Now the only issue you may run into are grand exchange limits, which means that you may be unable to buy certain items because you've reached the limit for the hour, but you can either A, have a second account, buy them for you on the grand exchange, or B, just ask a friend to buy them for you and continue the process. This may be a bit more known than others, but I do believe that this is more consistent money since there are a lot more of volcanic ash, Supercompost, and ultracompost traded per day than, let's say, the silver bars and the silver dust. Anyways, guys, that's going to finish up today's video. Thank you again for tuning in. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to drop a like and a comment. And again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I don't think I said that last video. Hope you guys had a fantastic winter break. And if you guys want to chill in a CC endgame, SOUP Soup is a CC to be in. I'm telling you, man, beautiful place. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time. Have a good one, and peace.
Wow.